What's going on YouTube? So today I want to talk about the 10 things that I wish I would have learned sooner that would have really helped kind of accelerate my business that much faster. Hopefully these will be things that will help you guys out to save you a lot of time and money because that some of these lessons kind of costed me a lot of that. I've learned them now, but if I would have known it beforehand, would have been great to know. So the first thing will be the website. Version one of my website, let's just say it was a little bit rough. Um, you spend all this time. I was excited, right? When you're opening your business, you're excited to see how it's going to go. I was excited to get the website kind of up and running and thinking, hey, it's here now. There's a few products on there, and let's see what happens. Um, Spoiler alert, version one did not have a whole lot happening with it, right? So it kind of makes it difficult because I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, what's the issue here? Is it pricing? Is it not enough product? So I kind of had to really start digging into things, and I ultimately kind of figured out, well, this website, the way it's designed, the flow, the look and feel, is just not very conducive to having people show up and want to buy from it, right? So I spent all that time to design version one. I had to kind of take it apart, start back over again, and design version two. That made a big difference, but again, that was just more time and effort that I had to spend doing version two. If I would just done that the first time round, I could have saved myself a lot of time, money, and effort, right? Um, don't you're pouring traffic into a website that's not ready to convert, right? It's not really what you want to do. So moving on to the second thing, that was Google Ads, um, or just ads in general, right? So I didn't have a very good understanding of how to build an effective ad campaign, how to structure an effective ad campaign. So I was kind of thinking, hey, I throw money at Google Ads, it generates ads, and it creates conversions. And I didn't really understand a whole lot of the nuance that goes on behind the scenes with that. So again, I sunk a lot of time, effort, and money into building these campaigns, pouring money into it, and not really understanding in the beginning why I wasn't really getting a very good return on that. Right? If I would have taken more time to kind of understand how Google PMax works, I could have saved myself again a whole lot of money. So it was kind of a compounding issue, right? I was paying for traffic to come from Google to bring it to my website, and my website was not set up and very conducive to creating conversions. So I was wasting money and time effort on both sides of it and not having a clear understanding of where the issue was coming from, right? Along the same lines of ads, I did not understand how meta ads fit into the equation. I didn't understand the flow of it, right? The funnel, and how they kind of will work hand in hand in terms of meta being discovery, generating intent. That intent then comes to Google. Google then captures that intent on the search to bring it to you to convert, right? um, I didn't understand that whole workflow, that whole funnel process. And so again, I could not build my system to effectively work that funnel and end up at the end result with a conversion. So that was a big lesson. I mean, honestly, that can be a whole video on its own, but you're going to have to, if you are going to operate a website, right? If you're selling on eBay, TCG player only, obviously they're bringing the customer to you, right? You're just more worried about, um, do I have the proper price point? Can I be found, right? And you're not really worried about how do I get traffic to my website. If you're running your own website, that's something you do have to worry about. So maybe I'll do a whole video on that, but that's number two. Number three, I wish I had found fair marketplace much sooner than I did. And I know I mentioned it before in one of my videos. There's some confusion. Fair, I believe it's FAIRE marketplace. Um, and basically, short story, it's a website where a lot of wholesalers have relationships there. You have to have a business account. You can open an account there with them, and from there you have access to a lot of different items, um, and you're not going to be paying sales tax on them because you have your business license. It's for resale. So I wish I would have found that website much sooner. I haven't really seen anyone else talking about that, but it's how I initially started getting accessories and Dungeons and Dragons items, tabletop RPG items, dice, things like that, to kind of build out some of my categories beyond just having, at the time I had I had Japanese sealed Pokemon. And then from there, I was able to start adding on accessories and things like that, um, which then helps Google Ads, right? Because now you have the ability to target more than just one category, target an additional type of customer, bring them in, um, and it's not just filler inventory, right? It's strategic inventory to try to build that brand, build up a customer base for that. Right, like I always said, diversification is really important if you want your business to be stable. So I wish I would have found them that much sooner. Um, so yeah, if you're looking to get into this business, I highly recommend checking them out because you can use that because they do have net terms. Um, they are, there are some semi-distributors on there that have a certain product. Maybe they need to move it, whatever. So it's a good way to build some history. So when you go and apply an actual distribution, right? GTS Alliance, ACD, EE Entertainment, Southern Hobby, things like that. You can say, well, I'm not just coming in with nothing. I do have some measure of existing relationship over here at Fair Marketplace, and they can look at that and see, okay, well, you've been buy different categories. I can see you're paying your invoices. Okay, that looks good. Then someone's coming in with absolutely nothing. All right. Anyways, number 4, bundling. In the beginning, right? Obviously, you're working on improving your systems. You're still building your customer base. You're still figuring out what works for your business, what doesn't, your price points, your ads, things like that. So you're going to have some inventory that's kind of dead inventory, right? It kind of sits there. Um, and I wish I would have kind of learned the value of bundling and how to do it effectively in order to help protect your margin, move that slower inventory. Um, I use it. I do some bundles where if I have inventory, say I have a booster bundle, right, and it got kind of crushed on a corner, right, or a ETB in which the plastic got ripped and now you can't sell as sealed. It's the plastic got torn, whatever it is. Well, how can you still recover some value from that? So bundling is a way that I do that, right? Um, Bundle up some other things, provide some value, and move other product to kind of go with it. It's been helpful for me to recover some loss, and I wish I would have known and been able to do that much sooner. Because potentially too, that could allow me to take in collections in which there are products that are damaged at a better price point and still have been able to move them efficiently, and bring some value to a customer and make them happy because they have some different items now, right? So that's something I wish I'd learned earlier. Number 5, singles. So this one I kind of have a rocky history with in the beginning, right? So my store is based on Shopify, right? Whether you're selling on Shopify or Wix, right? That's the other big one. Uh, what I found, you're going to have the same issue probably that I had. You can list all these cards on there, right? All the cards you have, sure, you can list them on there. Um, if someone comes to your site and like, okay, this card is $1.25, I want this card, that's a good deal, I'm going to buy it. They buy that card. Well, Shopify and Wix says, okay, cool, you have this order. Now you must fulfill it. Give me the tracking number. So that means somebody coming to your site to buy this $1.25 card will now have to pay $5 or $6 for tracked shipping on that $1.25 card. Alternatively, they can go to TCG Player, buy that same card, maybe even find it a little bit cheaper, and pay $1.49 shipping. Or for many pro sellers, right, they have it set up where if you buy over $5, you get free shipping. So they pick up a couple extra more cards and it's no shipping cost. Right now, they may not, you know, be okay without having tracking on their shipping, but many buyers are. Right, TCG players kind of set up for that. They have built the trust. They can see how many sales any given seller has in their rating and say, well, you know what, I trust that if I buy this card, I'm not going to get tracking, but I will get the card. They will send me the card. So that's kind of what you're competing against, right? If you're looking to sell your own website. So my problem for me is I'm like, okay, well, I have all these singles that are listed, and it's kind of a pain in the butt because I have it set up. Also, probably the system wasn't set up. So if I sold that card, right now it just still shows that card but zero inventory rather than just deleting it entirely. So then what happens is I have all these cards showing out of stock, right? And I'd have to go and manually either deactivate them or delete the listing and recreate all over again if I got another one of those cards back, right? It was very labor intensive. Inventory management was kind of a pain in the butt that I didn't really have a good system set up right now. I kind of use like an alphabetical chaos system. But I did not have the system built up in order to efficiently move singles. So what happens? Singles didn't move. And the lesson that I took from that was, okay, maybe singles isn't going to be right for my business, and I kind of left it on the back burner for a long time. Didn't really put effort into it until relatively recently, when it was actually last month. I think it was like near the like first week of June. I started, I transitioned my personal account to a business account on TCG Player, started learning TCG Player, and I think by June 18th I was seller level 4, and from there that's when I picked up a Ryko FI 8170 scanner, started scanning in a lot of these cards that I had in backlog. I had $1,000 worth of cards just sitting that I just didn't have a good way at the time to scan. Now that I was level 4, I can scan them, put them into Sort Swift, identify, move all that CSV file into TCG Player, have all that inventory go live from one spreadsheet, and have Sort Swift sync orders between TCG Player, have it show up on Shopify so I can keep track of everything. And now it's working pretty well, right? But it's not because singles suddenly became a good seller. It's because I now took the time to build a system, put the effort in to build a proper system in order to move singles, right? So now when people go to a website, they want to buy a single, they click the link, it takes them to my pro store, and they can buy it directly from there, right? So quick shout out, go check out my pro store and buy some singles. Anyways, so it wasn't a demand problem, it was a systems problem, and it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, see how I needed to transition. So now I move singles very well, which is great because you take all these cards in, you gotta move them, right? Sealed is probably a little easier for me to move, well, by it, 'cause that's what I've been dealing with, so I understand sealed. Versus singles, I need to find the right person that wants that particular card, right? TCG Player now allows me to do that pretty efficiently. So I can kind of take these collections in and be able to liquidate them, and keep that kind of churn and burn happening. Next up, so going, systems, right? Build my systems that are ready for scaling. I kind of got caught off guard towards the end of last summer, so I started this business May 7th of last year, right? 2025. So kind of in the beginning of the summer slump, right? So started selling, figuring things out, things being a little slower, uh, was probably good for me, right? It helps me kind of ease into what I was doing, learn some of the basics, and figure it out. As summer hit and things started going all crazy again, I was a little caught off guard. My systems weren't set up right. I didn't have an efficient shipping system. I didn't have an efficient way of putting things in inventory, of storing them, being able to find them, right? I had things in boxes all over the place. I was taking so much inventory in, and I didn't have time to necessarily put it in inventory and organize it, so that I had boxes all over the place. So that it was making it very inefficient for me when I was trying to pick items to fulfill orders of where something is. So it was causing me problems of sometimes I'd oversell because I thought I had more and I didn't. Or sometimes I'd be like, okay, crap, well, this sold and I can't find it. I guess I must miscounted. I'll have to cancel the order. And then later on I find it. Or sometimes legitimately I oversold it because I didn't have it. So caused a lot of problems not being efficient with that. So I should have figured that stuff out sooner and been prepared for the scaling that occurred. I wasn't, and so it kind of caught me off guard. I had to scramble a lot to get it all set up. So if you're looking to go in this business, set your system up early on. um, in such a way that you can scale it, right? Make sure you have the proper space. Where okay, if I have more orders, how am I going to ship everything? Where's it going to go? Where are the supplies going to go? Um, yeah. Um, Next thing, okay, so number 7, a Korean supplier. So I started with Japanese, so I had Japanese supplier, and then I added a second shortly thereafter. Um, but it wasn't until this year, probably what, a couple months ago. Yes, May, probably exactly a year before I added a Korean supplier and started offering Korean products. Um, I wish I would have done that sooner. Korean's done well for me. Um, Towards the end of last year, Japanese prices really started going a little nuts. I probably should have looked for a Korean supplier then. I didn't, and so I probably lost out on a lot of sales and um, capturing customers, bringing to my brand who may have been looking for more affordable alternatives because I did not have the ability to offer it at that time, and I should have. I knew about Korean cars, and I just never took the time to really research and find a supplier for them. Right, diversification creates opportunity. I had no opportunities because I didn't put the effort in to find that diversification. Um, Next one, number 8. Right, I wish I would have known not to evaluate every sale in isolation, right? So every time I look at doing a buy or a sale, I'll be, okay, well, if I buy this product, can I make my margin in it? This sale, did I make my margin, right? And I was looking at every single one. Am I making my margin in this? And that's not really the right way. I should have been looking at it. Not saying, right, your business. You can't make sales and not make money and make your margin. But not every sale has to have the margin in it. There are other factors at play, right? So, for example, on a lot of, let me take that back. Not on a lot of, but on some of my accessories, I don't necessarily make a whole lot of money on it, right? So, say for example, let's take top loaders, right? Say somebody buys one of the Ultra Pro top loader packs, right? It's like what, like $5, $5, something like that, right? So in the ballpark, say it cost me somewhere in the neighborhood of like $2.50 to $3 to buy that from distribution, right? So I have roughly $1.50, $2 in profit. Now, say the order comes in, right? Right now I have about 2.5% fees plus 30 cents on each transaction, right? So automatically 30 cents gets knocked off. So now we're looking closer to about $1.50 on profit. Now, say, because this happens fairly often, the system calculates out $5.50, $6 to ship it. But when I go to buy the label, it's actually closer to $7 or $7.50, right? Say it's going all the way to New York. I'm in California. Um, I have to buy the label. Now, boom, that dollar's gone. I'm thinking, dang, I didn't make anything on this order, on this sale, right? Or maybe I lost 10 cents or whatever. That's not the way to look at it, though, right? They're not the way I should have been looking at it. Obviously, if every sale's like that, right, you have a different problem. But when it happens here and there, like it's not a big deal, right? What happened? I sold something I bought from distribution, an accessory. Um, that helps my allocation when I need to reorder more. I had a product that a customer was looking for. My ad gained data about who is buying these kinds of products. Um, this customer, if they're buying top loaders, it's probably because they buy cards. So maybe they'll come back and buy from me again, right? Um, for future purchase, right? So I can't, and I should not have been looking at every sale in the vacuum. Same thing when I was buying collection inventory, right? Maybe something they were like, well, yeah, I'll sell these at this percentage, but this one maybe I want 90%, and I'm like, no, right? Because then I'm thinking like, well, there's not really some margin in there for me. What I should have been thinking is, depending on what the product is this a product that's going to get clicks, right? Are people going to be looking for this, that they'll come, um, and I have this, and I can generate a sale, and maybe they'll buy this. and buy that along with it. So I should not have been looking at everything, but just will I make the margin that I want on every single item? Number nine, I wish I've learned to stop competing on price so early on and just focus more on competing on value, right? What do I mean by that? As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, in the beginning, I used to do like, Mega Loot Mondays, Funko Fridays, and do kind of like special deals and sales, right? And what ended up happening was I learned that when I did that, I was inadvertently training customers to only buy this category during the weekly sale, right? And outside of that, they would wait. So what happened was is I was actively destroying my margin and training my customers that I was like a discount retailer and only to buy during the sale. And that was unsustainable, right? And so the customers that I was gaining, a lot of them who would be, say, like, the ones just looking for a bargain, they're not going to be loyal to the brand, right? You had the lowest price, they bought from you, and the next time they want to buy something, they're going to buy from somebody else when they find out, okay, just look at who's got the lowest price, click, right? So I paid ads to bring that customer in. I already destroyed my margin by running the sale. I lost more money now because I had to pay to get that customer in, and that customer is likely not going to come back again outside of a sale in which my margin's already been destroyed. So instead of doing that, right, it generates revenue, but it wasn't making profit. So instead of saying, okay, well, it's compete on price, let's compete on value, right? So the way that I chose to, well, let's try to focus on making sure we ship quickly, right? I don't always hit it. I'm not perfect. I'm not, a multi-billion-dollar industry, but I try to match about 48 hours max fulfillment time, right? Sometimes I don't always hit it. Sometimes I'm actually even faster. It kind of depends when the order comes in, if it makes certain cutoffs, if I'm, off, whatever, how many orders came in that day, if I can get to it that same day or not. But I try to have relatively quick fulfillment and high quality protection when I pack it, right? Everything bubble wrapped, put it in a box with paper and all this kind of thing to make sure that when it arrives to your doorstep, it is in the same condition that it was when I packed it, right? Even if it's dropped. I had one where it was being sent out, I believe it was uh, one of the Virginias or something like that, and they had left a review um, stating that the postman had left it on the porch. They had melting snow that was coming down the roof, had been landing for hours on top of the box. By the time they got home, the box was completely wet and destroyed from water, but the ETB inside was perfectly fine because it had been all wrapped in bubble wrap and sealed. So the product was still fine. So that was, it felt good, but that's what I mean by, providing some value, right? Many of you, if you have ordered, I did it once. I ordered something from Target. It was I recall it was the holiday calendar, right? So I got a holiday calendar, and it came in the holiday calendar is about this big. The box it came in was probably this big. Wouldn't have been a problem if they had wrapped it up and put, packing paper and whatnot inside. They didn't. So it's just shaking around. So by the time I get it, it was completely crushed. You couldn't really use it as a calendar because one part of it had just been completely collapsed. So it didn't really open up properly. So that's something that I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with. I know another guy who bought some stuff in a booster bundle, and they send it in bubble mailers, right? So I try to focus now on competing on value, and again, that also goes hand in hand with bundles versus just trying to fight to be, race to the bottom on pricing. I guess price gets you transaction, value gets you a customer is a good way to look at it. All right, so Final thing, number 10, building the local community. I wish I would have been doing this a long time ago. I understand, there's time constraints and all of that, kind of my excuse, but it's something that knowing that I want to go brick and mortar is something I should have been doing um, long ago, right? Attending trade nights, um, posting on my personal account, being more active in Facebook groups, making those connections, meeting collectors and different vendors and things like that. I should have been doing a lot more networking. Um, because I don't necessarily want to have to be building the community day one when I open the doors, right? I spent the past year building the business. I now need to catch up and build the community around that business, right? Um, with all being said, it's kind of a prelude. I'll have hopefully some more update next week, but we are about 99.9% completed on everything with the lease draft. There was a couple corrections that I had to make. Waiting for the landlord to kind of go over the final document to make sure everything is all kosher on their end. But once we kind of finish that out, 4th of July is obviously going to delay that. But by next week, I'm thinking that we'll probably have everything all hashed out and we'll be ready to sign. And at that point, I will talk more about um, the timeline for everything, the location, and maybe I'll probably do a video for those of you that are looking to go brick and mortar about how I kind of structured, and negotiated this. Because it's not something that you really see a whole lot of people talking about. So I'll do that, but let me wait until it's signed and done, and then I'll kind of talk generally about some strategy, how you might do that if you're looking to do the same thing. But yes, that's number 10, right? Build a local community. I wish I'd been doing that sooner before the doors open, and then I have to really start playing some catch up. So those are the 10 things that I wish that I would have learned sooner. Hopefully, you guys found it helpful and useful. Feel free to leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Next week, I will hopefully have an update on where we're at with the store. And until then, check out epiclootcollectibles.com, buy my stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.